Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Entrepreneurship Unplugged. 10-minute short, practical, almost ruthless session with some amazing people who are doing incredible things on the ground. And today I've got the pleasure to be joined by somebody I've known now for really a long time, Lauren Campbell, and she runs an organization called AIF Business Development. Now, the reason why I asked her to be on the show, call it a show, is the fact that we live in a world of role models, of you have to develop the latest AI company, fintech, insurtech, and I think in this bombardment of media messages about what you should be doing, we forget that real entrepreneurship on the ground looks very, very different. Lauren, welcome. Tell us a little bit about the kind of things that you are seeing in the work that you're doing in supporting small businesses in the townships, in the peri-rural areas, what real entrepreneurship on the ground looks like.
Right. So, yeah, look, I think we've spoken before about the difference between entrepreneurship and small business ownership. And I think small business ownership is critical to fill the gap that we have in this country around, unemployment and lack of opportunity. So what we find is that often at a grassroots level, when it comes to entrepreneurship, there are a lot of people out there who are hungry. They're already doing the hard yards. They're already trying to buy and sell, and they just need a little bit of support, to get them to that next level, and to truly make their businesses either more formalized, sustainable, getting them to earn themselves a living first and foremost, and then employ people, because that's the mission. So amongst these people, there are a lot of challenges that I think are repeatable. I think helping them is not that difficult with minimal resource. I'm sure you found that yourself. But yeah, it's finding those people who need the support and matching them to the support that they need.
But inherent in what you're saying, I think, is the fact that apart from your wonderful optimism and sort of passion to help, you're saying that actually there's a lot of people who have the energy, the ambition, the drive to, I dare say, call it own their destiny, to start something. Tell us, talk about a little bit about your job program and your experience in when you run it, and the fact that so many people are actually able to start something for themselves, even if they didn't know they could.
Yeah. So the Give Yourself a Job program is an absolutely wonderful program. We go into townships and rural areas. It's a 16-week program, and the idea behind it is to turn people on to this idea of an opportunity mindset. So seeing opportunities in your community that are low barrier and easy to make use of without a huge capital outlay. So, for example, if you have a skill, you can cook food, you have people in your community that come home from work hungry, that you can stand by the taxi and sell them magwenya, or soup, or whatever the case might be. And there really are a lot of people. I mean, there's always the people when we go into the townships and recruit to say, we thought you were here to give us a job. But there are likewise others who will say, we're already doing this, and we're so hungry for the support, we want it. The program, so the first part of it is mindset development. How do you think? Questioning and analyzing that. Does it serve you or doesn't it? Developing the opportunity mindset. In everywhere you look, you see an opportunity. And then the next half is kind of a little bit of, or the next bit of it is a bit of theory, and then they actually start and run a small business. Right. So they start to make money from that point onwards, and then they keep coming back to the table to say, this was our experience, how can we improve it? What was your experience? So not only just a facilitator standing, doing,
I love that. Absolutely love it.
They learn from each other as well, and from the experience.
Let's say real life, going out there is the best teacher ever.
Absolutely.
You're talking about people, and I mean, this is an invitation to anybody. It's not it's always a generalization, but you're talking about individuals who you see that have potential. You're teaching application of that potential to
That's
turn
right.
it into commercial
What are some of the
activity.
reactions or the surprises that people have about, I can imagine if you talk to York, who sometimes thinks he's a bit of a fraud because I've been lucky in a lot of things. But suddenly York is taught to actually, and he starts actually selling something and making money. What are the kind of reactions and realization that you see on the ground?
It's incredible. We have sets of videos where we interview the participants, and I would encourage anyone to go and hear it from the horse's mouth, so to speak. I think, just this idea of managing your finances
Okay.
in a structured way for people is sort of like a game changer. The idea of profit and putting money back into your business, I think is just people who have never done it before, I think, are surprised at the fact that they have it in them to make money themselves and they no longer need to look for a job, which is so empowering. And then from the personal development perspective, I think what is so rewarding is showing people that they actually have the power and that they have talent and that they have a talent. I can't even describe it in words. It's so rewarding.
But so you're actually a talent scout. But here's the thing. I was in a stationery store not too long ago, and I saw this beautiful little booklet, and on it says, "Education plus attitude equal opportunity." And I love the fact that you're just helping people on the ground figure out what to do practically. And I think that speaks a little bit to the fact that we are surrounded by pseudo role models that maybe block us a little bit because it's kind of, oh my God, there is somebody there I admire or is influencing me, whether it's TikTok or Instagram or whatever, but they're so already there that I have no idea. I think I need a million or somebody to invest $1 million in me to reach immediately overnight that goal. Where you're speaking to a fundamental satisfaction. And maybe there's also dignity to being able to actually earn money. And we're not talking maybe big money here, right? We're talking about starting to generate some sort of income. Tell us a little bit about the dignity side. What does it do to a human being when they start earning their first 2 cents?
Yeah, so I mean, just to touch on a few things that you mentioned there, I think one of the things that we get participants to go out into their local communities and interview people who are already doing this, whether it's the Chisanyama owner or the guy selling vegetables on the side of the road.
And I think it just gives them that sense of possibility that I can do this. And it's that bridge between, like you mentioned, the person you're really looking up to that's kind of pie in the sky at that point, that there are actual local heroes around us that are doing it for themselves. So that really opens their eyes to that. And then as for earning an income and the dignity that gives, again, I encourage everybody to go and look at those videos because it shows, As soon as from day one, as soon as they start earning, they start to see the possibility and they start to see the goals as being something that is achievable. And they can start small. It doesn't have to be big.
I absolutely love it because, again, we speak about entrepreneurship and in the space that you and I and a lot of people operate in. Entrepreneurship sometimes, I think, becomes too much of a buzzword. It's entrepreneurship development becomes the goal. But actually the goal is to help people start a business that makes a little bit of money, that improves their security, improves their quality of life, that of a family, that of a community, and that of a country. So entrepreneurship development is not incredibly complicated. I'm in love with it. What are your final words of wisdom, insights that you would give to an aspiring entrepreneur out there?
It's not easy. That's what I would say first and foremost. You really have to be hungry and you have to want it. And I think consistency is key. There's a lot of people out there kind of hustling and hustling hard, and we often get tired and We don't see the fruits of our work, but it does pay off eventually. So I think be consistent, rest if you must, but never quit. You need that kind of resilience to do this thing. And at the end of the day, it's many times I've considered going, because I'm an entrepreneur myself, going to get a 9-to-5 job. And
Me too, by the way, me too.
We all do at some point, but it's, you come back to reality very quickly and you say, when you weigh it up, the pros and cons, being your own boss and having that kind of freedom to determine your future, and the sky's the limit. When you have a job and you're employed, you're making somebody else's dream come true. Whereas when you do it for yourself, there's no limit. You are your own limit, and your work that you put into yourself every day determines how far you can get. So keep doing the work. The work you do on yourself is the most important work, and never give up.
I love it. And that was another episode of Entrepreneurship Unplugged. Thanks everybody for watching, and I hope it was useful and inspiring and a kick in the backside to go and start owning your own destiny. Thanks for watching.